Video presentation showing second language acquisition using Krashen's hypothesis. In Krashen's hypothesis, we have five hypotheses. That is, number one, the acquisition hypothesis. Number two, the monitor hypothesis. Number three, the natural order hypothesis. Number four, the input hypothesis. And lastly, the effective filter hypothesis. Let's dig into the first hypothesis, the acquisition learning hypothesis. Krashen claimed that adult learners have two means for internalizing the target language. The first is acquisition, a subconscious and intuitive process of constructing the system of a language. Not unlike the process used by a child to pick up a language, the second means is a conscious learning process in which learners attempt to form, figures out rules, and are generally aware of their own process. According to Krashen, what is consciously learned through the presentation of rules and explanation of grammars does not become the basis of acquisition of the target language. Learning does not train into acquisition. Our conscious learning process and our subconscious acquisition process are mutually exclusive. To sum up the idea of acquisition learning hypothesis, it states that there are two independent ways in which we develop our linguistic skills. First one is the acquisition, and the other one is learning. According to Krashen, acquisition is more important than learning because, according to him, this is analogous to the way in which children learn their native language and, of course, the second language. Next hypothesis is the monitor hypothesis. The monitor is a device for watchdogging one's output, for editing and making alterations or correction as they are consciously perceived. Acquisition enacts the speaker utterances and is responsible for fluency. Thus, the monitor is a thought to alter the output of the required system before or after the utterance is actually written or is spoken. But the utterance is initiated entirely by the acquired system. Also, the monitor hypothesis has important implications for language teaching. Krashen argued that formal instruction in language provides rule isolation and feedback for the development of the monitor. But that production is based on what is acquired through communication, with the monitor altering production to improve accuracy toward target language norms. Krashen's position is that conscious knowledge of rules does not help acquisition but enables the learners to polish up what has been acquired through communication. The focus of language teaching should not be rule learning but communication. The idea of monitor hypothesis asserts that a learner learned system acts as the monitor to what they are producing. Let's move on to the next hypothesis, which is the natural order hypothesis. The natural order hypothesis states that we acquire the rules of language in a predictable order, some rules tending to come early and others late. Krashen 1985. This natural order of acquisition is presumed to be a result of the acquired system operating free of conscious grammar or the monitor. The principal source of evidence for the natural order hypothesis comes from Tasso called Morpheme Studies, July and Birth 1974. Krashen also maintained that there is a natural sequence for the development of the negative, the auxiliary system, questions, and inflections in English. To conclude, Krashen's argument for the natural order hypothesis is based largely on the morpheme studies, which have been criticized on various grounds and which, by focusing on final form, tell us little about acquisitional sequences. The idea of natural order hypothesis is that children learning their first language acquire grammatical structures in a predetermined natural order, on that some are acquired earlier than others. Another Krashen hypothesis is the input hypothesis. This hypothesis postulates that humans acquire language in only one way, by understanding messages, or by receiving comprehensible input. We move from I or current level to I plus 1, the next level along the natural order by the understanding input containing I plus 1, Krashen 1985. As an important part of the input hypothesis is Krashen's recommendation that speaking not be taught directly or very soon in the language classroom. Speech will emerge once the acquirer has built up enough comprehensible input, I plus 1. Comprehensible input is the route to acquisition and information about grammar in the target language is automatically available when the input is understood. For example, if a learner is at a stage I, then acquisition takes place when he or she is exposed to comprehensible input that belongs to level I plus 1. For example, if a learner is at a stage I, then acquisition takes place when he or she is exposed to comprehensible input that belongs to level I plus 1. Last on the Krashen's hypothesis is the effective filter hypothesis. According to effective filter hypothesis, comprehensible input may not be utilized by a second language acquirers if there is a mental block that prevents them from fully profiting from it. Krashen 1985. The effective filter acts as a barrier to acquisition. If the filter is down, the input reaches the LAD becomes acquired competence. If the filter is up, the input is blocked and does not reach the LAD. Based on Krashen's hypothesis on effective filter hypothesis, there are effective variables play a facilitative but not causal role in language, such as motivation, self-confidence, anxiety, and last one is the personality traits. As a student, how do Krashen's hypothesis apply to second language teaching in their classroom? As a second language teacher or students, the ideal is to create a situation wherein language is used in order to fulfill authentic purpose.